So we need to cover in this completion of the module a little bit on mantra, the Tantra, teachings, and we need to cover what next, because this module doesn't end here. Officially it does, but it doesn't end here as far as your completion goes for your completion certificates and for your life, because the Lam Rim is something we do again and again and again throughout the entire life until we realize it. And so some of the texts you may read once and then that's wonderful, so read it again. And then, that's wonderful, so read it again. And also in this module is completing a 3-day Lam Rim retreat. And, memorizing a Lam Rim prayer is still very good to do. So, yeah, as far as signing off the completion certificates and things like that, that will be later. But the exam I can cover for you in the next week, sign off that aspect. Okay, so that's what I want to cover, and I'll just screen share so you can see also where we're going with the schedule, and also let's see, which slide should we be in? The retreat one. This one is the one we want. Recording's okay because there's no choice. Otherwise, I wouldn't want it recorded. Okay, play. All right. So I'm assuming you can pretty much see what I'm intending, and just get fully set up here. I think that's all we need. Okay. So we'll be doing 3 meditations today. The first one being on renunciation, then bodhicitta, then the correct view of emptiness. So these covering the 3 principal aspects of the path. Okay, before we do get started into that though, it's important that we make sure that we're ready for our Dharma practice to be going in the best direction. And so we definitely want to be, let's do it together, the 9-round breathing. I know Venerable Angie's taught you that technique. And if you don't remember it, just do concentration breathing, okay? So let's just do some 9-round breathing, and then we'll go in, we'll set a motivation and do refuge bodhicitta prayers. And then I'll lead you into where we're going with the retreat session. Okay, so find a most comfortable position for you. Most important thing is to have a straight back and a pure Dharma mind. And so we can begin the 9-round breathing. Once you finish that, just do some concentration, meditation on the breath. And we can reflect how amazing this opportunity is. The fact that we're still alive, haven't yet died, death could come any moment. And that we have this precious human rebirth to be able to have the freedoms and opportunities to practice the Dharma, the cause of happiness. Having a long-term goal of such happiness, a pure happiness. In each moment, this life can be made most meaningful by directing it towards the long-term goal of enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings. Just by changing our motivation, every action done with the mind of bodhicitta makes life so meaningful, so beneficial. Taking the essence, putting into practice the three principal aspects of the path. Eventually, the 2 stages of Highest Yoga Tantra. All conditions and causes complete. Having met not only the precious teachings of the Buddha, but the complete teachings. Even the Mahayana Sutra and Tantra. Oh, amazing. So rare. It's so rare to have the intelligence, the wisdom, to be able to understand the Dharma. Cultivate the right causes and conditions to bring the results we seek. Amazing. And we have perfect examples of those who have already accomplished the path. Great holy beings like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and those who are fortunate to have met Kabje Lama Rinpoche, and many of other lamas and geshis and geshe-mas we know, and so forth. Remember, these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas manifest in any aspect, lay, ordained, any realm of existence to benefit others. And we are benefited by them. So feel very fortunate. How amazing, how incredible. Rejoice, delight. Have the perfect inspiration through perfect examples, the perfect conditions. And so we determine not to waste this opportunity, unlikely to ever return if we just waste it, take it for granted. And so we can use our life to benefit others, free them also from suffering, and bring to enlightenment. And we can choose to do this as our personal responsibility, recognizing the interdependence. Everything we utilize has come about due to the kindness of others. Every quality and realization we develop has also come about due to the kindness of others. For instance, for us to develop morality, ethics, taking vows to not harm every single sentient being. And so they give us happiness, they give us liberation, they give us enlightenment. If we're to develop the mind of compassion, great compassion, bodhicitta, it's all entirely dependent on every other sentient being. And so now, while we have this precious human rebirth, now is the time to take that responsibility, thinking, in order to bring all sentient beings to the highest happiness, enlightenment, I must achieve enlightenment. And therefore, I will make great efforts to strive in the path to Buddhahood. And this is all entirely possible due to emptiness, because I, myself, and all phenomena are dependent arisings, lacking inherent existence, same meaning. Then we can develop our mind, the stains, the afflictions, and so forth, and not in the same nature as the mind, and therefore can be removed with a powerful antidote, the wisdom realizing reality. And so all of this path is possible. So let's go to the prayers. We'll do Refuge Bodhicitta together first. And then we'll go look at the structure and get straight into our first meditation. So we can feel that we are actually in the presence of Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. Just because we cannot see the presence of the Holy Buddha in front of us does not mean the Buddha is not there. By just invoking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they can appear. And so with a sincere heart, feeling in the presence of Shakyamuni Buddha. And let's generate the visualization for this first session so that it's just easier to bring to mind in the subsequent sessions. And so every aspect of the Buddha is in the nature of light, transparent and clear. He's at the level of our forehead, about maybe 2 meters. It's like 6 feet or something in front. And he's seated on a most beautiful golden throne, adorned with jewels and supported by a pair of snow lions at each of the corners, manifestations of bodhisattvas. He's on the flat surface of the throne is the seat, and there's 3 aspects there. So firstly, a large open lotus, and on top are 2 radiant discs, the sun and the moon, one on top of the other. These 3 are representative of the 3 principal aspects of the path: the lotus renunciation, the sun, the correct view of emptiness, and the moon, bodhicitta. And so Buddha's holy body is golden color, completely radiant, wearing the saffron robes of a monk. Seated in the Vajra posture, right hand resting on the right knee, fingers touching the moon cushion. And is left in meditative equipoise, holding an alms bowl full of nectar, medicine for our disturbing emotions. And Buddha's holy face is most beautiful. Red cherry lips and long lotus petal eyes. Beautiful smile, compassionate gaze looking upon you and simultaneously upon all sentient beings. So try to stabilize the meditation, the blue-black hair of the Buddha. Every aspect represents an attribute of his omniscient mind. Stabilize that for a moment. and countless light rays emanate from the body, each with a Buddha at the tip, sending out Buddhas to do perfect work for sentient beings. And then, having finished some of those tasks, then returning back. There's so much activity going on here, enacting the welfare. We can also do the visualization where those light rays go out and purify all the sicknesses, diseases, illnesses, accidents that have occurred, our dear friends and loved ones, wars, all the natural disasters, so much suffering in this world. Not just manifest suffering, but every single sentient being experiencing great suffering. And so we can ready ourselves to take refuge, having generated the three principal aspects in our mind. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of generosity, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. Due to the merits of my generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I'll change on the slide for the second session and that third line there, because we're no longer listening to the teaching, so it's more just our general practice. So we can change that third line. So these are the three meditations we'll do today, starting with renunciation, bodhicitta, then wisdom realizing emptiness. And I thought it might be best to introduce you to more Lamrim prayers than just the one of the foundation of all good qualities, because it's very meritorious for us to read through them. And I would encourage reading through all of the Lamrim prayers we cover today on a daily basis. And you can pick one in particular that you may go through and meditate on every single day, maybe just a new aspect. It could be a new line each day, or it could be within a line. There could be different topics. So you could just slowly progress through, for instance, 14 verses of the foundation of all good qualities, doing a different meditation each day, or even for 1 week holding the same meditation. And, you know, there's so much room to play here. And there's the Dharma is so profound, so deep and, you know, vast, that you could meditate on one word for 3 months. I mean, it's incredible. So I'll introduce a bit of a structure of how we can go about it, and then you can choose. So we'll look at the foundation of all good qualities. And this precious one, I believe, Venerable Amy's introduced to you the first couple of pages on the Lamrim prayer. I think she did that in the module 2. And then the three principal aspects, Lama Tsongkhapa. So we'll take one for renunciation, bodhicitta, wisdom realizing emptiness, but the structure will be the same, how you go about meditating on them. And then what next we must cover. Okay, if we have leisure and time, we can refresh what to do in daily life on the three principal aspects. We can talk a little bit more on how to bring wisdom realizing emptiness into your daily life, these sorts of things. All right, so we have the Buddha in front of us, so let's just regenerate that. And one thing that we can do is the mantra. So the meaning of the mantra, I'm not sure if you know already. So Tayata, I'm relying on an explanation given by Geshe Tenzin Zopa. Tayata is referring to the emptiness. So the emptiness of my body, speech, and mind. Because it is empty, it can transform into Om, the holy body, speech, and mind of the Buddha. So you could say, because it is empty, you could even look at Om, the impure body, speech, and mind, becoming the pure body, speech, mind of a Buddha. So like this. So how do we make this transformation? Because things are empty, we can become Buddha, developing the body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. How do we do that? By relying on the path. And so the Mune, then the next one, Mune, refers to the first scope, the small scope, the middling scope, the Maha Munye, the great scope, and then the Soha is kind of like bringing all of that together, like, so be it, and these sorts of things. So independence on relying on the three stages, the three scopes, we can achieve the holy mind, a holy body, and holy speech of a Buddha, like that. That's more or less in essence. So having the Buddha in front of us with all the light rays, we can first purify all the hindrances and obscurations that we have in relation specifically to the three sufferings. So we'll do a meditation first on renunciation. So purifying all of our three sufferings, six sufferings, eight sufferings, all of this true suffering. Light rays come out to purify the causes of suffering, karma and afflictions, true origins. And also purifying obstacles. Remember that 8 worldly concerns stop the development of renunciation. So we can imagine being purified of all these hindrances and obscurations. And as we do that, we can even recite the mantra of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. And then continuing to recite it, we can then bring in the blessings, the seeds for realizing that all of samsara is in the nature of suffering. No matter where we go, whom we meet, whatever we do, whatever we experience, it's all a true suffering. And so we can seek the blessings and inspiration to develop the realization of renunciation in particular, and great compassion up to bodhicitta enlightenment. So we can recite the mantra together while we're maintaining this purification with white light. Maybe for the 3 mantras we can recite together, then continue to recite it quietly and bring in the blessings in the yellow light. Ayata Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha Tayata Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha. And so then we can go to the prayer on the foundation of all good qualities. And so I'll bring that up for you. Just going to share screen. So we're going to do the renunciation meditation. And so we need this renunciation to turn our back on samsara and look towards liberation. So for any goal that we seek beyond samsara, we need the development of renunciation. So let's have a look at the foundation of all good qualities. And what we can do is we can start to recite the foundation of all good qualities up to the verse that we're going to meditate on. So in this case, today it's renunciation. We'll pause, we'll reflect on renunciation, and then we'll go back and continue to complete the prayer so that we have the entire path to enlightenment laid out for us in our mind. Okay, so that's the structure that we'll follow. All right, so foundation of all good qualities. You'll notice it's in sections. And so the first section, whether it be the preliminaries or the small scope, all of that comes into play for us to develop renunciation. Okay? And so we'll focus on the middle scope part of the prayer, the shortcomings of samsara, to develop the mind of renunciation. All right. So and then we'll finish the prayer. So we can recite it together. So keep in mind the Buddha in front of you with all those light rays sending out that you already have purified and received the seed to develop the realization, and we can start the actual prayer. When you get to this line here, please bless me, then we recite that 2 times. So the first time we imagine being purified to develop the realization of the meaning of the verse, in this case, Guru devotion, in the second case, precious human rebirth. So the please bless me is firstly to purify the hindrances to receive that realization of Guru devotion. And then the second time we imagine the Buddha comes to the crown of our head and a replica of the Buddha and dissolves into us to bless our mind to achieve that realization. And so we go through this method for each of those bless me's. Okay. So we should be right to begin. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect pure Guru. Correct devotion to him is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. Please bless me to rely upon him with great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once is greatly meaningful and difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly day and night takes its essence. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly day and night takes its essence. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Please bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest of negativities and accomplish all virtuous deeds. Seeking samsaric pleasures is the door to all suffering. They're uncertain and cannot be relied upon. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. And so let's take the time to now reflect on developing the mind of renunciation. So reminding ourselves of the purpose, that without this mind of renunciation, there's just no way that we could develop liberation or enlightenment. There'd be absolutely no escape from samsara. And so just reflect for a moment as to whether you think or not that you are suffering. Am I suffering right now? Quite often when things are going well for us, it's hard to even imagine or think that we are suffering. Because so often we just refer to the suffering of pain as suffering. Whereas the Buddha's presentation incorporates even the happiness we experience, the contaminated happiness, as being in the nature of suffering, and having a body and mind programmed completely under the control of karma and afflictions. This third most subtle type of suffering is the suffering we're referring to in its main way of trying to overcome. If we can overcome that, we will overcome what it produces, the suffering of pain, the suffering of change. If we overcome true suffering produced by true origins, then we're overcoming all kinds of suffering, which includes the contaminated happiness. And we'll be able to abide in a state of pure, lasting happiness. And so let's take some time to reflect on the individual three types of suffering, relating it to our experience. So the first one being the suffering or the suffering of pain. So any of the unwanted, unpleasant feelings, physical, mental pain, anguish, torment, whatever is going on for us, our anxiety, our depression, our mental illness, our body aches, whatever types of suffering. Think about the ones we've experienced in the past, experiencing in the present, and will experience in the future because of being under the control of karma and afflictions. And so take some time. Don't get stuck. It's not the purpose to get stuck. Don't get stuck, but just an observer, observing the different types of suffering that we've experienced in the past, present, and will experience in the future. Think about the future sufferings when you are very old, very frail, approaching death, dying. And if you can, go beyond this life as well. So not just looking at the suffering of pain of just this one life, but future lives. And not just as a human, the various types of suffering of pain one would experience, for instance, in the animal realm, hungry ghost realm, hell realm. We've created so many causes to experience these future results unless we purify, abandon true origins. And so without that, we can expect such suffering of pains in the future we will likely experience. Most definitely. And right now, there are so many beings, other beings that we know of, hear of, and see, who are all undergoing various sufferings of suffering. And so turn your attention now to the others. Allow compassion to arise for them. There's probably not one single day that goes by where we are not experiencing the suffering of suffering. And certainly most other living beings are enduring the suffering of suffering nearly all the time. And now something more subtle, less obvious, is the second type of suffering, the suffering of change, what we call happiness. It's our contaminated happiness, our pleasant feelings. So it is happiness. It's not like mental suffering in that sense. It is happiness, but it is a true suffering. It's not lasting, doesn't remain the more we have, it doesn't increase our happiness. In fact, what we call happiness is really a lessening of one's suffering. And it's that relief period before the next suffering arises. It's like an in-between period. So bring to mind some of the suffering of change that you've experienced, where it never really satisfies, it doesn't last, it increases your desire to want more or more and more, or do it again and again. And whatever happiness we identify with is completely under the control of external conditions, internal conditions. And so in this sense, it's not lasting, can change any moment. It's so uncertain as to what result it will produce in the next moment. So bring to mind some of the happy, joyous occasions, the suffering of change that we've experienced. Perhaps you were married or in a really great relationship, and how amazing that feeling was, and how, you know, one thinks that it's always going to last. But then sadly, it ends in separation, either by choice or by death, you know, separation, divorce, these sorts of things. So try to recognize the impermanent nature, the uncertain nature, and even how there was always something never, you know, not quite right. So try to get in touch with the suffering of change by bringing to mind some examples. Try to get in touch with what's happening in the present, you know, today, throughout the day. Notice where you had the suffering of change. Perhaps it was going out and enjoying the beautiful sunshine, the warmth on your body, delighting in that, feeling happiness. But then how long were you able to remain before it changed and suddenly you're now sweating and hot and got to get out of the sun seeking shade? And then the happiness of being in the cool of the shade. But how long did that happiness last before you're now too cool and you're seeking once again the warmth? So try to reflect on today, how many times you went between wanting this, not wanting that, wanting this, not wanting that, and just seeing how fleeting that happiness was. The suffering of being hot hadn't yet become manifest, and so you enjoyed the sunshine. But then once it got too hot, it changed, and you sought the shade, and the suffering of being cool in the shade wasn't yet noticeable. And so you call that happiness, that relief, happiness of being cooled in the shade. But before long, you became too cool. The suffering of being cool had manifested so much that is now changed. It's just very brief periods of happiness. And so we have so much attachment to the pleasures of this life. And it's this attachment that binds us. A desire for more, craving more. And while all we seek are these small happinesses, we'll never be able to get out of samsara because we won't even see that there's a greater happiness to be experienced. Liberation, enlightenment. We won't even see that we're suffering and we need to do something about it. And so this is the danger of these small contaminated happinesses. By having that instant gratification, we sell off our liberation and enlightenment. So the suffering of change is real suffering disguised as pleasure. And so it's time for us to see the real nature, to rip off the mask, the disguise. And lastly, the third kind of suffering, this pervasive suffering. Pervasive because no matter where we go in samsara, the three lower realms, the three upper realms, wherever we go, desire realm, formless realm, it's entirely pervaded by suffering. Now, an illustration of this is our very body and mind. Our body and mind created under the control of karma and afflictions. And so we are primed to suffer, having a body and mind under the control of karma and afflictions at any moment, suffering of pain, suffering of change can happen. This is why I think it was Kurtis Sintra Rinpoche that said it's like a ticking time bomb. And so it's not just this one life, having this body and mind controlled like that, brought about by true origins, karma and afflictions. We experience the true suffering. And this goes on endlessly. We circle in samsara, life after life after life, in all realms of existence. Even if you find it difficult to accept lower realms, you could think of human situations where people have like a hellish state. So much fear and suspicion and paranoia and anger and torment and torture. And remaining in such a state for such a long time. We've created all of these causes to experience these suffering states in the future. As long as we have a body and mind under the control of karma and afflictions, there's no guarantee we will experience a human rebirth or a precious human rebirth for a very long time in the future. And so if it's hard to imagine life as a hungry ghost, then just identify with the human desperation, neediness, constant search and seeking, but never satisfied, fully desperate, even just for a scrap of food or a drink of water. We see this in even the human realm. Foolishly, we can even think, oh, I want to be reborn as my cat. or my dog. But if we really get in touch with the suffering existence of the animal realm, it's not just the little chihuahua in a Prada handbag going to cafes, drinking their own lattes. Even just dogs are skinned alive in China. So many animals left out in the elements, exploited, sacrificed, slaughtered. And we have all of these causes in our mind, all these karmas in our mind, having anger, miserliness or greed, strong attachment, clinging, and ignorance. So we could be one breath away from the lower realms. And so, having this precious human rebirth, we have the capacity to generate the strong wish to be free of all of samsara, from taking rebirth ever again under the control of karma and afflictions. And so try to generate that strong, determined mind, and then hold it single pointedly to make it firm. Also generate the mind and hold it single pointedly that not only wants to give up samsara brought about by true origins, karma and afflictions to experience true sufferings, but now develop the mind single pointedly focused on the strong determination, the wish to achieve freedom, liberation from samsara, great liberation even. And we gently touched on how others are suffering similarly with these three types of suffering, but often in far more intense ways than we are experiencing. And so if you can generate the wish that they too be free of all suffering and its causes and achieve liberation and enlightenment, and hold that single pointedly. accept responsibility to make this happen by myself alone. I will free all beings from suffering and its causes and bring them to liberation and enlightenment. Okay, so we can go back to the prayer. So we've been trying to develop that mind of renunciation that turns away just from the pleasures of this life or future lives, like the renunciation that one would generate in the small scope. And then we looked at what's called actually pure renunciation, the real meaning of renunciation that turns away from, the suffering of samsara entirely, not just in any of the realms of existence, as long as we're under the control of karma and afflictions. And so seeking to be free of that, renounce that, and achieve liberation. And then in the great scope, where we shift that focus to see that, just like me, countless sentient beings are experiencing suffering, and trying to take that responsibility to free them from suffering and its causes. So there's different types of renunciation depending on the various scopes. But generally, we're talking about turning our back on samsara to achieve liberation. But it's a more amplified one when we follow the great scope, because it focuses on all sentient beings suffering and their causes as well. Okay, so let's continue with the foundation of all good qualities. Seeking samsaric pleasures is a door to all suffering. They are uncertain and cannot be relied upon. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and great caution arise. The root of the teachings is keeping the Pratamoksha vows. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all mother migratory beings. Please bless me to see this, train in supreme bodhicitta, and bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings. Please bless me to see this, train in supreme bodhicitta, and bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings. Even if I develop only bodhicitta without practicing the 3 types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with great energy. Once I have pacified distractions to wrong objects and correctly analyzed the meaning of reality, please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. Please bless me to generate quickly within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. Having become a pure vessel by training in the general path, please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. Please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the 2 attainments is keeping pure vows and samaya. As I have become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. Please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. Then, having realized the importance of the 2 stages, the essence of the Vajrayana, by practicing with great energy, never giving up the 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Like that, may the gurus who show the noble path and the spiritual friends who practice it have long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the stages and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. So we can imagine Guru Shakyamuni Buddha now comes to the crown of our head and dissolves into us, completely becoming inseparable with our body, speech, and mind. And just meditate on that inseparability of the Guru Buddha having absorbed into our heart, blessing us. Becoming one with. You can actually visualize yourself arising in the aspect of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, and sending out light rays to bless all sentient beings, purifying their negativities, purifying their samsaras, establishing them in the state of Buddhahood, having abandoned all obscurations. And so we can just think as a dedication, for instance, due to all these merits, which are merely labeled by the mind, may the I, who is merely labeled by the mind, quickly achieve enlightenment, which is merely labeled by the mind, and lead all sentient beings who are merely labeled by the mind to such an enlightened state by myself alone, who is merely labeled by the mind. So take a break, guys, and then we'll come back together. Do you think maybe 15 minutes might be good? Would that be okay? 15 minutes? I want you to have time to have a, Isabella says yes. I want you to have time to have a drink and relax a little bit. And then we'll come back and do a meditation on bodhicitta. And then we'll have a break and then do wisdom realizing emptiness. Okay, so hopefully you're okay. And actually, do you have a spare couple of minutes? Do you have a couple of minutes? You okay? Because I was just thinking, we just looked at the foundation of all good qualities, and it might just be nice to show you that verse on the Tantra so that we can just discuss it momentarily. Because there's not a great deal to say because you will do a whole module on Tantra. So it's not a load we need to say at this stage. But so I've just shared the screen there. So the three principal aspects of the path are necessary before we enter the Tantra path. So the mantra vehicle. So the Vajra vehicle, you could say, the Mahayana Vajra vehicle. So we need an empowerment or an initiation, and we also need to have an understanding, not necessarily realization, but understanding of renunciation, bodhicitta, correct view. So then these are the preliminaries by which we can then enter the path of Tantra. And there's, action, performance, yoga, highest yoga Tantra. So we want to be able to, with an empowerment, we can generate ourselves as the deity. So we generated just now Shakyamuni Buddha, and that is allowed, but only like that. You cannot generate as Chenrezig without the empowerment, Manjushri without the empowerment. So when we talk about the sutra vehicle, you can generate as Shakyamuni Buddha, but when we talk about the Mahayana Vajra vehicle, you cannot generate as a deity without that empowerment. And so you practice trying to achieve the state of the Buddha through various sadhanas like practice manuals. And ideally, we want to definitely take at some point, perhaps even in this lifetime, if we can be ready, highest yoga tantra, because then we have the complete causes to achieve the holy body of the Buddha, the enlightened mind of the Buddha, by having purified even the subtle stains of appearances of true existence to even our subtle minds. And we have the causes to achieve the enlightened body of the Buddha through practicing this deity yoga and so forth, seeing ourselves as inseparable from the deity, arising as the deity. And yeah, so basically these three principal aspects of the path are necessary, and the bodhicitta would be more intensified, because the longer we delay our enlightenment, all beings who are depending on us are delayed in achieving liberation or enlightenment and continue to suffer. So your bodhicitta in the mantra vehicle would be even more intense bodhicitta, more urgency to bring all sentient beings to enlightenment. So yeah, so here there's the preliminaries, and then sorry, that was just from the previous meditation. And then the vows, you take tantric vows. If you do yoga or highest yoga tantra, necessarily you have bodhicitta vows, and necessarily you have refuge vow. So it's not that you take tantric vows in the action tantra or performance tantra. And so you can see this morality, this ethics is there even in the Tantra, not like in the old days before Lamritisha went and corrected what had fallen to degeneration in Tibet at that time, thinking you could practice Tantra without the sutra path. You clearly see that's not possible. And then having realized the importance of the two stages, the generation and completion stages. So this is where all the realizations come to make our, body, speech, and mind one with Buddha, the enlightened, the enlightened mind of Vajradhara, one with all Buddhas and so forth. So that's just like in essence, a couple of comments on Tantra. I think that's probably all we need for now. Just to mention those couple of key points. Okay, so let's take the break now. We'll have 15 minutes from this point. So it's 10:25 my time, so 10:40 my time, so 15 minutes your time, okay? And we'll reconvene. So once again, checking your posture is conducive for meditation. And we can begin with the 9-round breathing. I think that's most excellent. So one of the elaborations on the nine round, there's so many ways to do it, but one is to bring in like blue light, as in all the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then expel, for instance, the red, which is like the attachment and desire, and then bring in the blue of all the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then expel the white, which is like the white smoke in the sense of anger, aversion, and intolerance and so forth. And then to bring in the blue light, or the blessings of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and expel in gray the confusion, the ignorance. So however you've done it is perfectly fine. There are many ways to do it. So let's just start with the 9-round breathing. And then just breathing normally. And so hopefully now we have a good basis by which to do meditation, because we want to make our meditations Mahayana meditations as well. Then it's good to visualize all sentient beings around you. We talk about the mother figure on our left side, father figure on our right side, friends and loved ones behind, people we find challenging, difficult, push our buttons, trigger us in front. And we can imagine all sentient beings as vast as space, taking the aspect of a human body, but still undergoing their individual karmic sufferings. And we can imagine, visualize them all around, facing inwards to us and relying on us to bring them to a state of full and complete enlightenment. So once again, more quickly, we can establish Guru Shakyamuni Buddha in front of us. Sending out rays of light. Buddha's on the tip of each light ray, going out, extensively benefiting sentient beings and others coming back. And this light rays also flows out to us, purifying all of our current problems and sicknesses, back pains and emotional difficulties and challenges, and all the individual experiences that we all each are having right now, our loneliness and grief, despair, anxieties, never feeling good enough, insecurities, as well as any major sicknesses and diseases and so forth. And whatever any sentient being is experiencing can go out to purify all their suffering of pain, suffering of change, pervasive suffering. Most important is to feel in the presence of the Buddha. One day we will, in actuality, see the Buddha. We can know this to be true. And so also specifically, these light rays, they can purify us as we recite the mantra. Actually, first let's do Refuge Bodhicitta. So we can be thinking of working for the welfare of all sentient beings to free them from suffering, bring them to enlightenment. And all this is possible because of interdependence, dependent origination, dependent arising, because things are lacking in inherent existence. Therefore, they can change, can transform. And so we can cultivate every happiness up to enlightenment, not only for ourselves, but for others. And so relying on the Buddha, I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. And so with these light rays going out, we can imagine purifying any obstacles or hindrances that we have to developing the mind of enlightened bodhicitta. So purifying our self-cherishing thoughts that are solely preoccupied with our own happiness and disregarding others. So purifying all self-centeredness, self-cherishing, whatever you want to call it. And any obstacles or hindrances to actually achieving the mind of enlightenment. So purifying all our bias, attitudes that divides into friend, enemy, stranger, and then acts accordingly with attachment and aversion and so forth. And we can do the visualization as we recite the mantra together 3 times and then individually 3 times on our own. And when we do the individual one, we can imagine the light rays become more yellow to bring in the blessings and the realization so that we can effortlessly and spontaneously enact the welfare of all sentient beings and become a Buddha through having developed the mind of enlightenment, practice 6 perfections and so forth. Hopefully you know the mantra. Sayata Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha Sayata Om Mune Yata Om Mune Mune Maha Munaye Soha. And so with bodhicitta, we want to not be bound to samsara and nor individual self-liberation, the complacency of nirvana, but we want to turn our backs even on nirvana to achieve enlightenment, where we can fully enact the welfare of all sentient beings, having fully developed our own realizations, fully purified all obscurations. Then we're going to know exactly what the disposition, the inclination, the the propensities of each disciple would be, or each sentient being would be, and then we totally can manifest however is needed to benefit. So this is the most meaningful way to use this life, to liberate ourselves alone would not be sufficient at all. And it's certainly not the meaning of this life. Countless sentient beings are relying on us, needing our help and benefit. They're all completely precious and kind. We rely on them for everything. And so this time we can use this prayer that perhaps you're familiar with already. Direct meditation on the graduated path. And once again, we'll recite up to the verses focusing on bodhicitta. And also, this time it doesn't say, like the foundation of all good qualities did, please bless me, these sorts of things. But we can still imagine that we're requesting the blessings to actualize the meaning, the understanding, the realizations. So we can begin. Essence encompassing all the Buddhas, originator of all the holy Dharma of scripture and realization, principle of all the Aryas intending virtue, in the glorious holy Gurus I take refuge. These Gurus bless my mind to become Dharma, Dharma to become the path, and the path to be without obstacles. Until I achieve Buddhahood, please bless me to be like youthful Nosang and Bodhisattva, always crying, incorrectly following the virtuous friend with pure thought and action, seeing whatever is done as pure, and accomplishing whatever is said and advised. So you can just imagine, being blessed to train like this. Please bless me to see that this greatly meaningful body with freedoms and richnesses is difficult to find and easily perishes, that action and result are so profound, and that the sufferings of the evil gone transmigratory beings are so difficult to bear. Therefore, please bless me to take refuge from the depths of my heart in the three rare sublime ones, to abandon negative karma, and to accomplish virtue according to the Dharma. So receive the blessings to practice exactly in this way. In dependence upon that, even if I achieve mere higher rebirth of a deva or human, I will still have to experience suffering endlessly in samsara because of not having abandoned and being under the control of the disturbing thought obscurations. Therefore, please bless me to reflect well upon the way of circling in samsara and to continuously follow day and night the path of the three types of precious trainings, the principal method for becoming free from samsara. And then the next verse. So this is the one we'll focus on to develop the bodhicitta. So this one here, we can recite. In dependence upon that, even if I achieve mere liberation, since there is no sentient being of the six types who has not been my father and mother, please bless me to think I must fulfill their purpose and turn away from the lower happiness of nirvana. Then please bless me to generate precious bodhicitta by equalizing and exchanging myself with others, and to follow the conduct of the conqueror's sons, the six paramitas, and so forth. And we can think that we receive the blessing to be able to train exactly according to the bodhisattvas. And we can pause the Lamreb meditation on the entire graduated path here to focus specifically on bodhicitta. And so we'll use the second method, that of equalizing and exchanging myself with others. We'll use that method, equalizing and exchanging oneself with others, as opposed to the sevenfold cause and effect, which looks at all sentient beings having been mother. We won't do that one together today. And so the first step we're going to need to develop is a sense of equalizing. And so, just check in with yourself. When you think of I, me, mine, then check in if there seems to be a greater sense of importance than when we think of others. Isn't it true that when my friend is in an accident, as opposed to somebody every day we see on the news involved in accidents, isn't it true that the intensity is far greater because of our relationship, our connection with this one friend, dear friend? Or if I lose my job as opposed to the neighbor losing their job, isn't there a greater sense of importance? Anything that affects me and mine, my loved ones, my friends, I think there is naturally this sense of greater importance. And so what we are aiming to do is equalize the level of love and respect that we have for just some, and myself in particular, we want to equalize it out to all living beings, no longer placing just importance on myself, but recognizing how there is no difference between myself and others. Each of us have a right to and want happiness, and to not experience problems, sufferings, or difficulties. This is our common ground. This levels out all the attachment, aversion, attachment to these people, aversion to these people. It's leveled out. We are all exactly the same in this respect. And this goes right to an expression of our Buddha nature. Try to see this sameness with all sentient beings, including the ones you find most difficult. Certainly, we're confused as to the causes of our happiness, and so we engage in harmful, wrong actions so much of the time out of confusion. But nevertheless, we all share this basic innate wish for happiness and not to experience suffering. Also, another good method is to think from the point of view of numbers, that I am just one and others are countless, limitless, numberless. And so it makes no sense to have self-importance more than others when I'm merely one. The needs of one cannot outweigh the needs of others just based on numbers alone. And so we want to equalize out this attitude that sees myself as more important, my needs, my challenges, my fears. When we're so self-preoccupied, our world becomes so small. And yet that small, kind of insignificant problem that we experience, in the scheme of things, it's quite insignificant compared to others. We blow it up to be huge. As if that's all there is, and we disregard what's going on around us. We're consumed by what's happening to me. And so we create further problems for ourselves. We isolate ourselves from others. We neglect what's going on for them, their problems, their concerns, their feelings, their thoughts. And we might even lash out and harm them. Certainly we create conflicts, discomfort. When it's all about me, then we can easily give rise to anger. Basically, this self-preoccupation is what causes all of our problems, our isolation and relationship problems and all the difficulties. Certainly doesn't give us space to think about others when we're consumed with me, myself, and mine. And so we don't create much virtue. But we do create lots of causes for non-virtue in lower realms. So try to see how this self-preoccupation has harmed us in the past, continues to harm us in the present, and even in the future. While we have this self-centered mind, we don't even think of others or cherish others. And we certainly can't develop things like great compassion and bodhicitta and so forth. Just so consumed with me and mine. It's very easy to give rise to jealousy as well when we see others having something that we're not getting the attention or we're not getting what we want, but they are. Also, we just think we know best all the time. So we're not open to the Dharma, to our Dharma friends, Dharma advice. We miss the opportunity to have good guru devotion when we have this strong self-centered mind that thinks we know best about everything. My ideas, my thoughts, my wishes, my plan for how to get out of samsara is better than what anyone else would know for me. And so it really blocks our progression, blocks our happiness, certainly blocks realizations and going beyond samsara. Whereas if we can exchange, if we can, instead of cherishing ourselves, holding ourselves more important than others, if we can exchange that mind that sees others as more important, their happiness as more important, then, we can really start to develop the path in our mind. So if we can see the benefits, the advantages that come from cherishing others, apart from developing a good heart and having good relations with others, friends, people there caring about us and, our needs and our wants, but, when we cherish others, people come back and they're so caring and loving and kind. They really care about us. So apart from just developing a good heart, we really want to be developing this mind of great compassion, bodhicitta, and enlightenment. And so if we can cherish others, it will move us in that direction of bringing about so much happiness, not only in the short term, but ultimate happiness. So when we think of others, cherish others, hold them as dear and precious and kind and important, then we seek to protect others. And so from protecting others, we get a long life. We're patient with others. And the Buddha has taught from patience comes beauty. So inner beauty. If we're cherishing others, we're caring for others, then we're not going to harm them. And so our morality would increase. If we can cherish others, we'll quickly develop the realizations of the path, the Lamrim, loving kindness, great compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth. We'll be able to engage in much virtue. When we cherish others, instead of doing an action for one, myself, we now can do the same action, but with a mind seeking to benefit limitless sentient beings. And so the merit is limitless by comparison. So we'll quickly achieve enlightenment, we'll quickly accumulate vast merit. And so this exchanging self with others, then what we're doing is swapping that attitude of cherishing oneself at the expense of others. We're swapping that to now cherish others. It's like others first, me second. We exchange, we swap the state of mind. We try to engage the way the bodhisattvas and Buddhas do, always caring about others, nurturing, cherishing, becoming a source of peace and happiness and love in the world. So think of some examples of how you could put others first in your work situation, your home situation, your family situation. Whether it be through actions or just the thought, try to come up with some examples of how we can put others first and ourselves second. Make a strong determination, if you like, single pointedly to really bring into deep into the mind this determination to hold others as more precious than oneself. And then all these suffering sentient beings surrounding us in our practice that we're leading, we can recognize the various sufferings they're experiencing. And wishing that they be free of such suffering, particularly that third kind, which causes them to experience suffering of pain, suffering of change, then what we can do is the Tonglen practice, where we can imagine taking on their suffering to free them from all suffering forever. And so we can, motivated by our compassion for the sentient beings who are suffering, wanting them to be free, we can imagine taking on all their suffering, and it comes in the form of black smoke. And on our in-breath, we can breathe in their suffering in the form of smoke, and that black smoke comes down to the heart, where we imagine that self-centered, self-preoccupied, self-cherishing mind is. And this, when the smoke hits it, begins to shatter and destroy it and obliterate it. So if you feel comfortable with that, you can see these sentient beings around you experiencing the various problems and sicknesses and diseases and sufferings and wars and hunger, thirst, heat, cold, all the different realms of suffering. And if that's too difficult for you, you can even just do it on yourself. Any sickness, depression, illness that you've got, any stresses, and your third kind of suffering, being under the control of karma and afflictions with this body and mind, you can imagine also that exits your body in the form of black smoke, and you can breathe that in. So we can just do some Tonglen for a short while. And then what we'll do is we'll go on to do the giving part, the love part. So let's just focus on the compassion side for now, just with that in-breath. See it obliterate your self-centered mind. And then with a mind of love that wishes all sentient beings to have happiness and the causes of happiness, send out in the form of white light. Whatever is most needed, it can transform into anything that's needed. You can send out safety, love, all the conditions to bring them temporary happiness, delicious foods, delicious drinks, heat and cold depending on what's needed, wealth, spiritual wealth. Send out teachers of Dharma, texts, Sangha friends, good Dharma friends. Retreat hearts, whatever is needed for them to have the happiness that's temporary, but also to bring them the happiness of Dharma. Seeing this as just a visualization, but they don't have this in actuality. We can make a strong wish that we can develop the qualities of loving kindness, great compassion, to be able to achieve the state of enlightenment with this great compassion that even I myself alone will make it happen for these sentient beings, to free them from suffering and bring them every happiness. And so with that great intensified compassion, taking responsibility, we know the only way that we can do this is if we achieve enlightenment ourselves and then become a perfect guide for others. And so make a strong determination in your mind to achieve the state of enlightenment for the welfare of all sentient beings, and hold that single point with the greatest of mindfulness. And let's conclude the Lamrim prayer we've been reciting. Having trained my mind in the common path in that way, I will not be upset, even if I have to experience the suffering of samsara for a long time. However, please bless me to look at sentient beings with extraordinary, unbearable compassion, and to enter the quick path of the Vajrayana teachings. Then please bless me to protect my vows and samayas more than my life, and to quickly accomplish the unified Vajradhara state in one brief lifetime of this degenerate age. We can imagine receiving the blessings to train in that way. And then we recite these two verses to bring to mind the Guru, Shakyamuni Buddha. We can do it in this context even. And we can bring Shakyamuni Buddha to the crown of our heads. And we can recite these verses of Guru Shakyamuni Buddha dissolving into us and entering into our heart. May I not give rise to heresy for even a second in regard to the actions of the glorious Guru. May I see whatever actions are done as the stainless actions of a Buddha. With this devotion, may I receive the Guru's blessings in my heart. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon seat at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. And so take Shakyamuni Buddha from your crown all the way down into your heart, becoming inseparable with Guru Shakyamuni Buddha's holy body, speech, and mind. And visualizing yourself as the Buddha, send out rays of light to all the sentient beings surrounding you as vast as space, purifying all their negativities and obscurations, blessing their minds, so that they can achieve all the stages of the path up to enlightenment. And see that they become Buddhas. And you can just think with the merit that we've generated through this meditation, all due to all these merits which are empty of existing from their own side. May the I, who is empty of existing from my own side, quickly achieve enlightenment, which is empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are empty of existing from their own side to that enlightened state, which is empty of existing from its own side. Okay, so we can stop there for a brief break. We do have to go on to do a brief meditation on emptiness. And also, I really need to show you some slides on what to do next. So maybe we just have a short break. Would it be okay just because, everything's so abbreviated because we've got to try to fit it in 3 hours and even less with the breaks. Would it be okay if we just have like maybe like, I don't know, a 5-minute break? Is that too little? It's okay. All right. Thank you so kindly for your patience and care. So let's take 5 minutes, and that's going to be 11:38 my time. So whatever 5 minutes, we'll start back straight away. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so welcome back. All right, so sometimes we don't have the leisure of doing like now a 30-minute, 40-minute meditation, 45 minutes. So when we don't have that leisure, it's still supremely beneficial to do a meditation. Even a meditation on emptiness for 1 minute or 2 minutes would be amazing and beneficial. So that's kind of the situation we're in at the moment. We'll take a bit more than 2 minutes, though, of course. So once again, establish the Buddha firmly in your mind, seated in front of you, 2 meters in front, as we brought up each time. And this wisdom realizing emptiness, whether we are wanting to achieve self-liberation or enlightenment, it's necessary. So here we're turning our back on samsara, using the correct view of wisdom realizing emptiness to become free, liberated. But more than that, we strive for great liberation, enlightenment. And so I wondered in the few-minute break whether to do the 3 principal aspects. I still think it's worthwhile. So I hope you'll be able to join me. Okay, the 3 principal aspects of a path. So we'll begin reciting this, and you can imagine what you got to do is apply all of these stages to oneself. So the 3 principal aspects of the path, you've got to relate them to our own experience. Then it becomes a beneficial meditation. So let's begin by reciting the verses, and we've got the Shakyamuni Buddha in front of us. And so, we could imagine, purifying all that's not conducive with generating the wisdom realizing emptiness. In this case, specifically to be the self-grasping, but self-grasping ignorance that grasps at a self to inherently exist is the cause for all of the exaggerations, superimpositions, afflictions, anger, attachment, jealousy and pride and all of the rest. And in dependence on those afflictions, we generate karma. Excuse me. We generate karma. And then in dependence on the karma and afflictions, these true origins, then what we produce, the result is samsara, true sufferings. And so we can imagine Guru Shakyamuni Buddha before us sending out rays of white light to purify self-grasping ignorance and all that arises in dependence upon that, our true origins and true suffering, and to bless us with the yellow light, bringing in all the realizations so that we can develop our wisdom, not just the wisdom of the small scope, this wisdom that has the correct worldly view, understanding, karma, actions and results from virtue, happiness, non-virtue, suffering, more than just that, but developing the wisdom that realizes reality, the lack of inherent existence of all phenomena. So if you like, you could join me in reciting the prayer. I bow down to my perfect gurus. the essential meaning of the victorious one's teachings, the path praised by all the holy victors and their children, the gateway of the fortunate ones desiring liberation. This I shall try to explain as much as I can. Those who are not attached to the pleasures of circling, who strive to make freedoms and endowments meaningful, who entrust themselves to the path pleasing the victorious ones, you fortunate ones, listen with a calm mind. You can see all the small scope coming into play, and precious human rebirth and everything was there. Without the complete intention definitely to be free from circling, there is no way to pacify attachment seeking pleasurable effects in the ocean of circling. Also, by craving for cyclic existence, embodied beings are continuously bound. Therefore, at the very beginning, seek renunciation. Freedoms and endowments are difficult to find, and life has no time to spare. By gaining familiarity with this, attraction to the appearances of this life is reversed. By thinking over and over again that actions and their effects are unbetraying, and repeatedly contemplating the miseries of cyclic existence, attraction to the appearances of future lives is reversed. When, by having trained in that way, there is no arising even for a second of attraction to the perfections of cyclic existence, and all day and night the intention seeking liberation arises, then the thought of renunciation has been generated. So precious, this prayer. Even if renunciation has been developed, if it is not possessed by the mind of enlightenment, it does not become the cause of the perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. Swept away by the current of the four powerful rivers, tied by the tight bonds of karma, so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the total darkness of ignorance, endlessly reborn in cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the three sufferings, thinking that all mothers are in such a condition, generate the supreme mind of enlightenment. In short, if, like the mother whose cherished son has fallen into a pit of fire and who experiences even 1 second of his suffering as an unbearable eternity, your reflection on the suffering of all mother sentient beings has made it impossible for you to bear this suffering for even 1 second. And the wish-seeking enlightenment for their sake arises without effort, then you have realized the supreme precious mind of enlightenment. So it's amazing because it's showing you exactly how to generate these minds, the three principal aspects, and then what's the measure? What's the criteria of having generated it? Amazing. All right, wisdom. Let's stop on this verse. Without the wisdom realizing ultimate reality, even though you have generated renunciation and the mind of enlightenment, you cannot cut the root cause of circling. Therefore, attempt the method to realize dependent arising. And so here we can stop and do a brief meditation on emptiness. And so what we can do here is it's good to bring to mind a situation where the I rose very strongly. Maybe someone said something nasty to you, was mean to you, excluded you, left you out from something, abused you. Some sort of strong sense of I arose. If you can bring to mind a situation like that, it would be best. Or if you don't have any of those, you're lucky, but you might think of something where someone, praised you so emphatically, and it's like, this I arose, feeling so proud and everything. Underneath the pride is this grasping at a sense of I. So try to bring to mind a very strong sense of I. This is also very excellent to do when you're in that situation of being abused or great fear or whatever it is that arises. This is the perfect time to do this reflection. And so having a clear image of how that I, that sense of me or I, having that in the mind, then just with a very small part of the mind. If you use too much of this other part of the mind, it's going to hide the sense of I. So you keep that focus, and just with a very small part of the mind, you allow that small part to act as an observer, to see this very strong sense of I. And what you're trying to observe is, where is this I? What is this I, and where is it? So this strong, concrete, substantial, independent, inherently existent I, as if it exists from its own side without being merely labeled, but as if it's findable, right? This is the target that we're needing to shoot the arrow of wisdom at. And so it's either going to be, we're either going to find it or not find it, right? And we'll either find it or not find it with the body and the mind, okay, or separate to the body and mind. They cannot, there's no other option. We'll either find it or not find it, no other option. And we'll either find it with the body and mind or separate to the body and mind. And so this I, we could begin an investigation from the top of our head to the tip of our toes, searching for this concrete, substantial I. Where is it? Sometimes we feel it strongly at the heart area, so investigate, is it the heart? Is it in the heart, behind the heart? What about the head, the brain? See, if it was the body or a part of the body, then we couldn't say, I think, I feel, I'm happy, I'm frustrated, because these are all activities of the mind. And so if this concrete I was one with our mind, then where is it? Can we find it or not find it? Is it one with each moment of mind? Is it my anger, my faith, my mindfulness, my sense consciousnesses, my mental consciousness? Where is this I? Is it the past of my mind, the present mind, the future mind? See, there are many faults, many consequences. If it was one with my anger, which moment of anger? Many moments of anger. But there's only one I, but there are many moments of mind, many parts of the body and mind being two. So the collection of body, mind, but there's only one I. If I was the body, the parts of the body, there would be multiple eyes, multiple moments of mind. I would have to be one with each of those moments of mind. Couldn't just be with one moment of mind and then not exist in the next moment. There'd be so many ramifications that play out. Certainly we talk about my body, my mind. And so can I be found as something totally different, unrelated to body and mind? Not having any relationship with body and mind? So if we can't find it in the body, in the mind, in the collection of body and mind, and we can't find it separate to the body and mind, unrelated to the body and mind, then we have to conclude that it's not findable. It's not findable as one with the body and mind, nor separate to the body and mind. And so we would then rest in that awareness of not finding that concrete I. When searched for in its basis, body and mind, it was not found. The non-finding of inherent existence. And so rest in that mind of not finding the inherently existent person when searched for. That would be the emptiness of inherently existent person. So since the person does not inherently exist, then how does it exist? It does exist. There is someone here doing the investigation. How does the self exist? Merely labeled by the mind. The self is a dependent arising. It is the self that is meditating, the self that is accumulating virtue, accumulating wisdom that will achieve liberation and enlightenment. There is a self that exists. That's the conventionally existent self. The self that doesn't exist is the one that we take to our meditation on emptiness, to because this self we've believed exists inherently, concretely, substantially. And that is the troublemaker for all afflictions, negative karma, and suffering and samsara, the root of why we suffer. And yet it's never existed. Never existed in the past, present, will never exist in the future. And so we're using our wisdom to counter the ignorance that not only throws up appearances of inherent existence, but then we grasp at it, believe it to be so. And so what we're trying to do with our wisdom mind is unravel with a wisdom hand our cyclic existence. And this is why it's important to identify the object of negation, because we're not refuting existence. That would be falling into nihilism. That's not a meditation on emptiness. It's a wrong view, extreme wrong view. We're not refuting existence. We're refuting independent existence, unrelated to anything, because things exist dependently. And so with that, we can just dedicate the merit when we come back as a conclusion. Let's finish the Lamrim prayer, and then we'll go from there. Verse 10, one who sees the cause and effect of all phenomena of both cyclic existence and the state beyond sorrow as forever unbetraying, and for whom any object trusted in by the grasping mind has completely disappeared, has at that time entered the path pleasing the Buddhas. If the appearance that is unbetraying dependent relation is accepted separately from emptiness, as long as these two understandings are seen as separate, then one has not realized the Buddha's intent. If these two realizations are happening simultaneous without alternation, and from merely seeing dependent relation as completely unbetraying, the definite ascertainment that completely destroys the way all objects are apprehended as truly existent, at that time the analysis of the ultimate view is complete. Furthermore, appearance eliminates the extreme of existence, and emptiness eliminates the extreme of non-existence. If you realize how emptiness manifests in the manner of cause and effect, then you are not captivated by wrong notions holding extreme views. In this way, you realize exactly the vital points of the three principal aspects of the path, resort to seeking solitude, generate the power of effort, and quickly accomplish your final goal, my child, Lama Tsongkhapa says to us. And so with Buddha Shakyamuni in front of us, we can dissolve into our heart, becoming one with Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, inseparable body, speech, and mind. And sending out all the light rays from our own body to purify all sentient beings of all their negativities, sufferings, obscurations, and establishing them with all the realizations of the path to enlightenment, so that they too become Buddhas. So I'd like to end with what's next, and I'll go through it quite briefly due to the time constraints we're facing. So what's next for you guys? Well, if you could do a separate course on the three principal aspects of the path, this would be very excellent, because you know, the teaching is utterly profound, utterly supreme, And so if you can, I'm just going to get rid of the chat section so I can see more of you more easily if I hide the chat. So yeah, so there is a course. I'm not saying it's fabulous, not at all. But there is a course that I did do for Thubten Nobuling on three principal aspects, maybe last year or something. So study any course on three principal aspects. You could do also a separate course on the foundation of all good qualities, for instance. This would be most excellent. Then when you're reciting the prayer every day, the teachings become more alive. You know, even still, like, because I've got a long way to go, right? But even still, I've been reciting them maybe daily for more than 12 years or more, right? And even still, when I look at it, sometimes I go, oh, wow, like a word speaks to my heart in a different way that it hadn't for 12 times 365 days plus more. Okay, so you know it's very rich if you can study the courses and then you know the accumulate merit, purify, and then a word will appear more strongly due to blessings. I believe that it'll make more sense. So okay, 15 to 20 minutes would be ideal for where it would be good if you were at having done, you know, this is now the third module of DB. If you haven't yet started from module 2, the how to meditate doing daily practice, then try to do 5 to 10 minutes and build up to 10 to 15 and build up to 15 to 20. So if you haven't yet started, go back to the smaller time frame. Don't start at 15 to 20 minutes. I don't want you getting aversion when you look at your cushion and go, oh, I don't want to meditate today. So short sessions are far superior. 5 minutes. 5 to 10, like this, okay? And I like the insight timer meditation because you get the ding when you start it and you can sort of drop into that zone and ding when it ends. So you're not sort of thinking, oh, I've got so many things to do, you know, what time it is, more time to go, you know, you just relax and just be present in the meditation. You've got your DB readings to do, and the completion card you'll only be able to get so far in because there's you know, the 3-day Lamrim retreat and these sorts of things, memorizing one of the prayers, which is why I wanted to introduce all of them to you today. So I would suggest reciting daily Lamrim prayers, at least Foundation of All Good Qualities, three principal aspects, and even that other one that we do in that I introduced with the bodhicitta. So reciting them gives the seed for the whole path to enlightenment. And you've got that in your mind so that death can come any moment. At least that day you've cultivated the imprints for the entire path to enlightenment. So it's very, very, very precious to recite daily. Good to memorize them, okay? And then you don't have to worry about having to read. You don't distract yourself with the, you know, the eye consciousness. You can just focus on reciting the verse and then meditating on it, reciting the verse like this. Very good. Okay, so that's where the memorize comes in. I'm not sure if you have to do the completion card. In the past, you used to have to. I know many of us still are saying it's the best idea too. So one would assume, based on experience, that it's a good idea to memorize it. So that would be the best practice, to memorize. And memorize Lamrim prayer, the 3-day Lamrim retreat, see what's happening in centers, maybe online otherwise, and the preliminary practices. These are maybe something I'll show you some text. You might want to look at doing some preliminary practices so that it doesn't all bank up if you want to achieve the modules individually, but then the overall completion of DB requires those preliminaries. This is one on the 8 worldly concerns, most marvelous, precious Rinpoche in a younger aspect. There's this book is excellent too. I'm super impressed by the entire series. Middle length Lamrim, part of the basic program you can study in the centers or online. This one is a free one online there that you can access and download. Many people have loved. This one by Yangtze Rinpoche, you guys would know him being in America mostly. So it's an excellent book and written for Westerners specifically. It's a commentary to the Lamrim Chenmo, which is far more difficult to understand and easy to access. Okay, Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, only 68 verses, so very simple to read through. This is excellent. You can probably have been exposed to that already. You can certainly Google search it, where you can go online and you can do a daily meditation going through the entire Lam Rim in the 365 days. And there's the 3 volumes of Lam Rim Chenmo, which is beyond DB program, I think, for sure. These are 2 great texts that you can start thinking about if you want to do the preliminary practices, 110,000 prostrations, 110,000 Vajrasattva mantras, or you can just make the aspiration, when the time is right, may I investigate these texts and try to understand how to do the practice. So that's part of module 14. We're only up to 3. I'm just planting the seeds in case you want to do it progressively. Okay, so that's probably all we've got time for. Um, so we can jump to the dedications, but just before I do, I just want to check. Yes, you're right. Venerable Yunten has teachings on the 3 principal aspects and stuff. So she's got some amazing teachings. So, you can go to anywhere, any source. They're all going to be excellent because it's going to be pure Dharma. So, okay, so thank you very, very much for sharing this time, these last 7 weeks together. And I'd like to do the dedications and then we can go to our goodbyes if that's okay. So amazing, amazing, amazing. Using our precious human rebirth in this way, these last 7 weeks, incredible. Hopefully continuing with all of this all the way until your last breath. And then because of all the seeds that have been nourished, meeting it again newly in your next life and continuing. So we can dedicate all the merit that we have accumulated with all of the other merits accumulated by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas into this one giant ocean of merit. And we can dedicate that for the welfare of all sentient beings to have every happiness, temporary and ultimate. And ultimate, we mean liberation and enlightenment. And so we can dedicate for them to generate bodhicitta if they haven't already. Those that have generated it, for it to not decline, but increase more and more. And the same with the wisdom, realizing emptiness and so forth. These 2 wings to achieve enlightenment. Remembering also that these merits, like ourselves, as well as the enlightenment, are all totally empty, not existing from their own side. And so try to remember emptiness of the I, the merits, the enlightenment, and so forth when we go through these dedication prayers and long life. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Samsara nirvana lack even an atom of inherent existence, and cause and effect and dependent arising are unbetraying. I seek your blessings to discern the meaning of Nagarjuna's thought that these 2 are mutually complementary and not contradictory. May the precious realization of the 2 stages not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Peerless teacher and assembly of children of the victorious ones, Shravakas, Pratika Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And also I'll need to get out the exam to those that are doing the exam. Who here is doing the exam? Just a show of hands. Yep. Okay, cool. So I believe Isabella will take good care of you, and she'll send that out, and I'll have some instructions there for Isabella as well. And I understand it's probably, something to send back in a week, within the week. And please don't download the file until you're ready to open it and complete it. And that way, it's got the time and dates sort of, on the file. So it is to be done without the text. So go back to the YouTube videos, play it on double speed or maybe 1.5 or something to get what you need. And do study, please, because this is really, really, really important. And the test is just to show you what you don't yet know, but you thought you knew. And and then that just tells you what you've got to continue to study. And what you do know already, you can't just do it once and get it right on an exam and then let it fall out the ears or the nostrils. You've got to maintain it within your continuum. And so again and again revisit it. So don't be afraid of the exam. The purpose of the exam from my side is to encourage you to study. Once you've studied, it doesn't really matter how you do, because you just learn what you don't know or learn what you do know. And that doesn't mean anything. It just means you continue learning until you're a Buddha. So the purpose is to study and to study well. And then take that study into your meditations. And then from your meditations, develop those single-pointed, concentrations. So yeah, so thank you for this opportunity. It's been nice to meet you, and perhaps our paths will cross again. And if they do, yeah, may that be beneficial for us all. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Venerable
Venerable
Pema.
Pema.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Venerable Pema. You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Isabella, thank you as well.
Isabella.
Thank you, Isabella, and to
And
Bay as
Bay,
well.
and us.
And Bay, and hers.
And each of
And
you.
everybody.
And no one left out.
No
All
one left
sentient
behind.
beings.
Thank you.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Take care.